Warning: the following series contains material that is not suitable for a younger audience. Viewer discretion is advised.
Filthy Frank, Anime Hunter! Filthy Frank, Anime Hunter! Filthy Frank!
You need to stop everything. What are you doing with your life? Look at you, sitting in front of a computer with Cheetos crumbs all over your f***ing shirt. You're dirt to me. You're disgusting.
何やってるのリト
聞きたくねえ聞きたくね
F you. F you. You're f***ing sick. End it all.
リトどこへ行ったのかな
ブツブツなんて言ってないよ
You. You.
We're experiencing technical difficulties.
I've reviewed a few ecchi harem series in the past, and I definitely have more series of this genre I would like to review in the future. However, I certainly was not ready for this one. What's up guys, it's Kent from Spartan Media Reviews, here to review the anime To Love Ru. Does this show deserve a watch? Let's find out. Welcome to another installment of Oh Shit, I didn't mean to grope you every episode, otherwise known as Misunderstanding the Anime, or as the majority calls it, To Love Ru. To Love Ru follows our generic main character, Rito. You see, Rito is a p***y, for lack of a better term, as he has difficulty confessing to his crush, Haruna. One night, Rito is in his bathtub thinking about how he will confess his love to Haruna, when suddenly an explosion happens and a mysterious naked alien girl appears in the bathtub as well. Through the cloud of smoke, we see that Rito has in fact already lost his way by groping the alien without even knowing she was there in the first place. Through some other unfortunate circumstances of our main character, Rito is now engaged to the alien girl named Lala. What follows throughout the show is what you would expect from an ecchi harem series featuring comedic actions and loads of fan service. To Love Ru's story is so absurd that the creators already know you are watching this show for the fan service or the comedy, but certainly more driven towards fan service. Anyone who says that To Love Ru's story is detailed or complex is either A, looking far too deep into some absurd symbolism that involves the physics of the female breasts, aka boobies, or B, doesn't want to admit that To Love Ru's story is horribly flawed. This show is definitely considered by many to be a guilty pleasure, although I found most of the series to be pretty cringe-inducing. Believe me, I've seen my fair share of ecchi harems, and I actually found some of them to be pretty enjoyable. Hell, I'm enjoying Kyoto Animation's Myriad Colors Phantom World as we speak. However, To Love Ru is about as far as I will go in terms of pushing the boundary of ecchi harems. I know that the creators were trying to make the situations comedic in some way, but I couldn't help but think that A, some of these characters look like they are 13 years old, and B, I am a 21-year-old man watching said actions unfold on screen. The comedy is what makes or breaks these types of shows in my opinion. Considering there really isn't any story to speak of, comedic moments will have to push the story along, besides the fan service of course. I actually found some of the episodes to be quite hilarious, especially episode 7 and the end of episode 8. However, the majority of the comedy I found to be dumb or downright weird. I will give the show credit for keeping the episodic nature of the series fresh, as stories revolving around this genre are usually pretty simplistic and very bland, but in the end this story was definitely not for me. To Love Ru is very similar in concept and overall tone to another series I disliked, Tenchi Muyo GXP, so I'm not surprised that I found the story to be below average at best. It probably will surprise no one that the characters of To Love Ru are the definition of a generic harem. Character development in terms of characterization and harem progression was non-existent. I actually think that Nisekoi's first season did a better job in terms of harem progression, and that is definitely saying a lot considering nothing happens in that series as well. A majority of the characters were fun in terms of personality, but we also had the annoying ones. That laugh is so annoying. As a whole, I really wasn't a fan of the characters in this show, excluding a select few. If you like generic harem characters, you will love this cast. Otherwise, To Love Ru's characters in terms of development fail in every way possible. To Love Ru actually has pretty decent animation. However, what actually surprised me was the disappointing CG. Zepic animated one of my favorite series, Zoids, from 1999 to 2002, and the Zoids themselves looked fantastic. To Love Ru's CG, on the other hand, looked pretty lackluster. lackluster. Backgrounds are pretty bland and the character designs were pretty cliche as well. When it comes to the fan service, it actually was well animated fan service despite my dislike for it. When it comes to the opening, Xebec couldn't help themselves in creating the most fan service heavy opening I personally have seen. With that said, the textured gradient on top of the animation gave the opening some added flair and the use of credits was definitely creative as well. The first ending animation was very simple, featuring panning still shots of Lulu with moving colored spheres. I don't understand why the spheres were present considering they weren't used for censorship and they weren't really polka dots like the song proclaims, but they made the ending sequence really jarring with all the movement that was taking place. I think the ending would have been a lot better if they used a polka dot texture over the still frames, similar to the opening, giving the art a different style while not making the animation jarring. The second ending, while also simple, looked better in my opinion. The rainy and wet texture I felt worked better for the overall feel of the show compared to the first ending. Overall, while I hated the fan service, I will say that Xebec's animation, excluding the CG, was decent. Aside from a few standout tracks, the entire score to To Love Ru was pretty forgettable. While it flowed with the dialogue, I wouldn't be coming back to this soundtrack anytime soon. I found the opening in the first ending to be only okay, while the second ending was geared more towards my tastes. When it comes to the voice acting, the voice actors definitely played their character tropes really well. Despite my hatred for plenty of the characters, the voice actors made those cliche personalities a little better. Overall, To Love Ru's soundtrack as a whole is pretty forgettable. Now with everything that I have said, do I recommend watching To Love Ru? No. There are far better ecchi harem series out there than I personally have seen, including Trinity 7, Bigata HK, Saikano How to Raise a Boring Girlfriend, and even Rail Wars, my favorite guilty pleasure, that you should watch instead of To Love Ru. Now, take my opinion as someone who has not seen Mato To Love Ru or To Love Ru Darkness, but I doubt those series would change my mind on what I think about this franchise in general. If you want to watch this series, more power to you. This series is definitely for someone who wants a fan service heavy show, and I mean extremely heavy. With the majority of characters and their interactions being awkward to watch, I couldn't get into this series at all. Combining a story with poorly written and hit or miss comedy, cliche characters, and 1000% fan service, To Love Ru is a definite skip in my book. Spartan Media Reviews gives To Love Ru a final score of 3 out of 10 and a bad recommendation. If you are interested in watching To Love Ru, you can check out the series for free over on Crunchyroll. Now, what are your thoughts on To Love Ru? Comment below. If you enjoyed this review, hit that like button, I would really appreciate it. You can also subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, I would really appreciate that as well. Follow me on Twitter and Hummingbird to keep up to date with the current things that I am doing, and with all that said, I will catch you guys in my next review. Thank you for watching.
It's time to stop! It's time to stop, okay?